Hey, look, I got the shit you want. I got it right here. Everything you need. This one, unmarked. Check it. Oh.
He was just the boy next door.
Hi, well, hello there, Danny. I didn't know it was hockey season.
Hey, can I borrow a knife?
Welcome back to Zero Sum Gaming here at the Culture Cache. Zakor once again uses his voice through Patreon to decide what the show's going to be about this week. He wants to see Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Ask and you shall receive. If there's a game you'd like to see us cover here, or a topic on any of our shows at the Culture Cache, you can use Patreon. Let us know all about it. We'll be happy to oblige. And now, let the mayhem commence. I have to start by saying that this is not a perfect game. Wait. Extinguish your torches and put down your pitchforks. I didn't say it was a bad game. It isn't. It just isn't perfect. Let's start with the good, and honestly there's a lot of it to be had here. Perhaps the most make-or-break aspect of an open-world game is freedom. This very freedom is likely one reason that so many of these games feature criminal protagonists. There are simply some things that heroes are not supposed to do. By making the setting a seedy city, and the player character a sinister scumbag, the amount of freedom offered to the player is drastically increased. This game definitely fits the bill. Before you even take up the first mission, you're at liberty to explore nearly half the city. You see what I did there? It's entirely possible, and even in your best interest, to complete up to 20% of the game or more before you even take on your first mission. This lack of restriction allows you to make Tommy a good guy. Almost. If you want, you can steal certain special vehicles and do the jobs associated with them. You get the immediate reward of money as you do these normal jobs, and each has a permanent reward associated with it, such as completing 10 levels as a pizza boy to increase your max health by 50%. Sonny, I won out. I'm going straight. Don't worry, I'll get you your money. I just got a job working at the Well-Stacked Pizza Company. Granted, even these honest jobs require you to steal the appropriate vehicle, but you can have Tommy at least contribute a little to Vice City. You can even help the police apprehend other criminals and pocket $50 for every punch you land on the fleeing felons. Huh. It seems nice guys really do finish last. Business.
I've been in prison a long time, baby. Lord have mercy.
Wow, great.
Take it easy, man. Really what it's
Oh yeah, baby.
Another major allure of Vice City is that there's just so much to do. The missions are fun, messy, and varied, but they only comprise a fraction of what the game has to offer. In addition to the earlier mentioned pizza boy job, you can be a cab driver, paramedic, firefighter, or even dish out some vigilante justice while inside law enforcement vehicles. Of course, crime is the name of the game, so many of your optional escapades are illegal, such as knocking off stores or fulfilling contract hits. There are also 100 hidden packages scattered throughout the game. What are those anyway? The game more than hints that they're drugs, but I think they're really Girl Scout cookies. Then again, they could be one and the same. Why else are those Thin Mints so addictive? Finally, you can purchase various properties throughout the game, each of which allows you to save, and many offer other perks, such as garages to safely store your stolen spoils. These collectibles actually accentuate the narrative greatly. Tommy arrives in Vice City indebted to Sonny because of a coke deal gone bad. Your first safe house is simply a hotel room. As you complete these side tasks, you slowly unlock permanent rewards and upgrades, such as faster gun reloads or free body armor spawns at certain safe houses. This perfectly echoes Tommy's slow rise to power as he gradually and deliberately takes over the city piecemeal. It also pulls off an upward spiral. Completing missions enables additional extras and makes them easier to complete, while finishing these random tasks aids you on the story missions. The cars in this game are very similar to real-life cars. This is by design. In order to duck the licensing fees of using real cars, as well as create their own intellectual property, they made these fictional cars but based them on real existing ones. This may be common knowledge by now, but just in case, I'll share a few. The Infernus is a Lamborghini Diablo, the Cheetah is a Ferrari Testarossa, the Comet is a Porsche 911, the Sentinel is a BMW 5 Series, and the Deluxo is the mascot of the 80s, the glorious DeLorean DMC-12. Even many common cars get in on the action, like the Blista Compact, which is a Honda CRX, or the Landstalker, which is a GMC Jimmy. The other vehicles also receive a similar treatment, such as the PCJ 600, a real-life Suzuki Katana, or the hilariously named Faggio, which we know in real life as the Vespa Piaggio. Even the Hunter helicopter is clearly based on an Apache. I'm not sure how true this is, but I've heard that brand recognition and even brand loyalty for the fake GTA cars is nearly as high as their real-life counterparts. All of these things help build what is possibly the crowning achievement of Grand Theft Auto Vice City, the immersion. Frankly, this game should be the standard bearer for it. We as gamers often claim to want realism, but do we? No. Video games are for escapism. We want it to be a semi-realistic but fun and immersive setting. The city looks and feels alive. It is populated with many characters of both the colorful and generic varieties. Every random passerby seems to have a story. Seriously, there's a lot of fun to be had just by roaming around and listening to the musings of the townsfolk. And speaking of these sayings, let's talk about the voice acting for a bit. Rockstar made it a point to bring in some great talent. Seriously, this roster includes big names such as Dennis Hopper, Burt Reynolds, Luis Guzman, Robert Davi, Danny Trejo, Gary Busey, Lee Majors, Jenna Jameson, and others. This really adds a lot of personality to the named characters in the game. And of course, who could forget Ray Liotta's performance as Tommy Vercetti? Many people criticize the protagonist in Grand Theft Auto 3, Claude, for remaining mute for the entirety of the game. You could make the argument that this is done so that the player can mentally insert whatever they want Claude to say, similar to how Link is a silent protagonist in the Zelda games. Still, no one can deny that Liotta adds immeasurably to Tommy's character, and, to a lesser extent, even his character design. His snide remark, "Just think of this as socialism in action," when he steals a car, reveals much about his personality. This is not a game to steer away from politics either. No, it's not a political game, but there are some obvious elements of socio-political satire present at every turn. Just keep in mind that it's all played for comedy, and that the odds are good you'll wind up in the crosshairs yourself eventually. The game pokes fun at the Second Amendment, the elder President Bush, religion, hippies, nudists, feminists, and all manner of other topics. Bear in mind that this is Vice City. In other words, this is immoral or wicked behavior city. Pretty much everyone in the city is a scumbag, and that is used for comedic effect consistently. Vice City is clearly modeled on Miami, Florida, and the setting of the game is the final and most important aspect of this game's immersion. It's just real enough to be identifiable, but just fantasy enough to be fun. Better yet, the game takes place in 1986. As a proud child of the 80s, I'm sold on the game immediately by this fact alone. It's fun to just hop in a car and cruise around town listening to some tunes. Frankly, I've been known to actually fail missions simply because a song I really like comes on the radio and it diverts me so well, I start playing around, completely forgetting the fact that I'm on a mission. Mr. Mister's Broken Wings frequently has that effect on me. Unfortunately, as much as I'd love to share some of the 80s awesomeness with you, YouTube shit a brick when I tried to upload it. Stupid copyright, grumble. Well, now that I'm upset, we should cover the drawbacks of the game. One of the most obvious is the subpar graphics. I always think you should judge a game's graphics based on the time period in which it came out. Vice City was released in October of 2002. The vehicle models look good, but the character models just plain suck. There's no getting around it. Consider that my last video was on Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty. It came out a year prior and looks exponentially better than this game. Granted, I'm a firm believer in gameplay over graphics, but no honest assessment of this game's graphics can find them to be good. It's almost like the game needs to visit Complete the Look. Additionally, it has constant issues with frame rates and pop-up. And worse, if you're like me and you drive a PCJ 600 almost everywhere, that pop-up can literally kill you. Sometimes, the AI behavior just seems to go haywire. This can be fun to a point, but it also greatly removes the player from the game world, as it is clear that things are abnormal. Crazy drivers can help spice things up, but when they get to the point of breaking the immersion this game otherwise does so well, they cross the line into off-putting territory. Sometimes the pedestrians also decide to get in on the craziness. Again, this can be funny, but it also makes it clear that this is a game, not the organic city that we usually think of when we hear the term Vice City. Another significant problem with the game is the assortment of glitches present. Some of these are merely graphical, which means little since the graphics of this game, as discussed, are already subpar. Those are small potatoes compared to the functional ones though. I've managed to get a tank permanently stuck on a park bench. I've also fallen through the road into oblivion with no way to get back to the game. Even worse, while I've never had this one happen to me, there's a very well-known glitch involving the Cherry Popper ice cream factory. Never ever save there. If you do, you're rolling the dice with your save file, as it can permanently corrupt them. There are other versions of the game that have many glitches fixed, but they bring with them an entirely new problem of their own. There is a plot-centric gang war between the Haitians and the Cubans. Or at least there was, if you own the original version of the game, SKU number 710425271458. Over a year after the game came out, a whiny newscaster named Arnold Diaz bitched and moaned about the treatment of Haitians in the game, ignoring the treatment of all the other people in the game. Long story short, Rockstar caved and changed the Haitians to generic gangsters. They also preemptively gave the Cubans the same treatment. This is an extremely dangerous slippery slope. What about how you treat white people? Or black people? Or rich people? How about the cops? The correct approach is the South Park model. Up until this controversy, I thought Rockstar did that, but their capitulation to one group sets up a precarious precedent, especially for a company that thrives on controversy. Either bitch and they will cave, or they're telling you that they value certain groups of people over others. Neither of these outcomes is good for the company or for gamers. Sadly, it seems that social justice warriors are increasingly common, but maybe they're just louder, empowered by companies caving, such as what happened here.
Well, like I said, this game does have some problems, but bottom line, is this game worth it? Frankly, this game would be worth it for the soundtrack alone. But even better than that, it is a really fun game. It's the kind of game where it's so easy to get sucked into the game world, you'll look up at a clock in real life and realize, holy cow, 12 hours have passed, how did that happen? It's a good game, just don't go in expecting perfection, and you'll be okay. It's my favorite in the GTA series, and it's a great example of what open world games are capable of. And here's the best part. It's incredibly affordable. I wrote an article about this game on theculturecache.com. There's an Amazon ad running on that. If you follow that ad, you can find new copies of this game for $3. And if you want to go the used route, try 1 cent. 1 cent! How can you go wrong with 1 cent, really? Especially for a game this good. If you don't already have it, go get it right now. Thanks for watching. Now give me that car.
How was that? Was that okay? Was it great? You think I can change people? Fernando is a professional. You must understand. So, man, when do I get paid? What do you mean I don't get paid? What are you, crazy? Do you know who you're talking? This is Fernando. I know people, my friend. I know people, and not just the women's. Do you think I am some little skimpy top you can rip off and throw aside in a moment of passion? Where is the money?
Wait, you mean all those cars are running the whole time they're in your garage? Holy carbon monoxide, Batman!